And if thy hand offend thee, cut it off. It is better for thee to enter into life maimed than having 2 hands to go into hell, into the fire that never shall be quenched, where their worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. And if thy foot offend thee, cut it off. It is better for thee to enter halt into life than having 2 feet to be cast into hell, into the fire that never shall be quenched, where their worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. And if thine eye offend thee, pluck it out. It is better for thee to enter into the kingdom of God with 1 eye, than having 2 eyes to be cast into hellfire, where their worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. Mark, chapter 9, verses 43 to 48. The Bible was written at a time when disobedient sons were being stoned to death. Soldiers were being impaled on stakes. Backs were being made red from physical beating with whips and rods, sometimes to the death. Punishment was characterized by sadistic specificity. It was an art form, crafted with ghastly attention to detail. Men, in their precise cruelty, sought retribution, an eye for an eye. Hell, on the other hand, sought souls to fill in an endless pit of penance. It sought an eternity. We can't see this eternity, smell it, or touch it, but many writers have attempted to give us a glimpse, a whiff, even a feel of this eternal void of tortures that awaits those souls burdened by sin, all this while armed with but a pen in their hands. I call these masters of the macabre, these virtuosos of the sinister, infernal navigators, and our first navigator of 4 in this video today is probably the most famous one of all, no other than Dante Alighieri. Like with most other literature on hell, Dante's descent into the abyss unveils a haunting symmetry between sin and punishment. In other words, a contrapasso. The punishment of souls, by a process either resembling or contrasting with the corresponding sin. Every drop of blood, every oppressive flame, and icy torment in Dante's Inferno is violently poetic. In every scream, and in all silence, lies sinister rhyme and reason. Hell itself, for example, was subdivided into 9 main circles. The circles were concentric in nature, getting progressively worse and deeper as they approached the center, like a towel getting wrung dry. The outer fringes were still wet with slight goodness, but the inner circles were arid and devoid of all hope. In the very deep center, imprisoned within the icy lake Cocytus, a winged creature with 3 faces lay, Satan himself. 1 mouth chewed on Judas Iscariot, the betrayer of Jesus, the other 2 on Brutus and Cassius, the betrayers of Julius Caesar. Dante and Virgil, deeper, deeper, into hell they did sink. A great suffering they did witness. The gluttonous wallowed in sad mud, their bodies putrefying in rot and decay, blind and deaf to the cries of their fellow unfortunates. The cold, the selfish, the empty sensuality of their existence. The greedy, those misers, those spendthrifts, at opposite ends. The 2 groups pushed great, heavy weights, and their chests collided. Back to the start, repeat, repeat, again, repeat. For eternity, they did repeat. The angry, the foul, swampy, stinking waters of the river Styx. The actively wrathful lay within, battling eternally in the gloomy, disgusting muck. The sullen, the passively wrathful beneath the sludge lay withdrawn into a black sulkiness which found no joy in God or man or the universe. The heretics in fiery tombs, ablaze with fire, they dared believe the soul to perish with the body. Murderers, war makers, plunderers, tyrants, blood spillers. A river of bubbling, boiling blood and fire to cook eternally. Suicides, oh suicides, those wasted bodies, those wasted temples, now twisted, thorny trees, preyed upon, the harpies feast eternally. Blasphemers, sodomites, usurers, on burning sands, under scorching flames. To the eighth circle of hell, Dante and Virgil flew upon Geryon's back, with a serpentine body, hairy paws, a scorpion's tail, colorful markings, but alas, the face of an honest man, the deceitful nature of fraud, panderers and seducers in an eternal march, with horned demons, whips, bloody backs, flatterers, steeped in shit, the false flatteries they told on earth, howls, cries, infighting, simoniacs, who sold holy offices for personal gain, buried head downwards within the rock, to their feet, fire set ablaze. Sorcerers, astrologers, and false seers, with heads twisted back, a backwards gaze, consequences of peering into the future by ungodly means. Corrupt politicians, submerged in a lake of scalding tar. The grasping nature and hidden corruption of their illicit transactions. Thieves in vast chasms, snake bites, lizard bites. Those who caused divisions, disrupted communities, sowing discord, sliced into fragments by a massive demon with a blood-stained sword. Imposters, identity thieves, counterfeiters, alchemists, a disease to society, damned to endure ghastly afflictions in hell, stench, thirst, filth, darkness, and screaming, stretched out motionless, frantically roaming the pit, hungry, ripping apart their fellow sufferers. The very lowest depths of hell, traitors, betrayers, and oath breakers. The remorseless frozen heart of the ice perfectly embodies their true essence. Rejected the divine love of God, now farthest from the light, the heat of God's Son. Renounced all human bonds, now confined solely by the relentless grip of ice. Cain, betrayer of kin. Antenora, betrayer of country. Count Ugolino, gnawing at Archbishop Ruggieri's head. Ptolemy, murderer of in-laws. Judas Iscariot, betrayed the Son of God. And at the very dead center, Satan, the fallen angel Lucifer, the greatest betrayer of all, the betrayer of God. Dante vividly captures the quintessential themes of punishment, retribution, suffering, torment, despair, hopelessness, and perpetual separation from the divine that are traditionally associated with hell. His version of hell portrays the condemned as defective creations, thrown away by a disappointed creator. But who created the creator? And are they proud of their creation? Some philosophies and theological beliefs hold that God is self-created or self-existent. This means that God exists independently of any creator and is the uncaused cause of everything. Hindu cosmology believes the creation of gods is part of a cyclical process, where deities emerge from primordial chaos or from previous generations of gods. The simulation theory speculates of an advanced civilization being the creators of our universe. And then there's the multiverse theory proposing that our universe, and potentially its governing laws or deity, could be the product of another universe with its own set of physical laws and entities. The possibilities are endless. But the second piece of source material that I chose for this video today is, I think, a particularly interesting one. A comic book storyline written by writers David Hine, Brian Holguin, and Todd McFarlane from the comic book Spawn. Unlike Dante's Inferno, which feels as if it could almost pass for actual scripture in the Bible's Book of Revelations, Spawn is an ultra-modern take on Christianity that those who wrote the Bible would have more than likely been offended by. Most stories about hell are ancient, Norse, Greek, Roman, Egyptian, Chinese, Japanese, Hindu, Aztec, so on and so forth. Even the aforementioned Dante's Inferno is over 700 years old. Spawn is rare in that it is one of the longest-running modern takes on mostly Christian theology, still going on to this day and having run for the past around 31 years or so, and within its colorfully macabre pictured scriptures, God and Satan were twin black children. Before delving into the intricacies of hell in the Spawn universe, You might wonder if a comic book of all things can mirror our real world, often serious interpretations of hell. I wager that indeed, it not only mirrors but also amplifies them. To understand hell in the Spawn universe, we must firstly understand the divine trifecta: God, the creator; Satan, the destructor; and the mother of existence, the overseer. But before I start, I must stress that the story I am about to tell is heavily summarized and doesn't do justice to the full story of Spawn issues 150 to 164. So, if you have the opportunity, you should do yourself a favor and read the story for yourself. It really is a good read. Additionally, while the story is greatly summarized, it is also quite long, but I assure you it is well worth it. Before delving into the Spawn comics, I must first of all give a little backstory on some of the main characters in order for the story I'm about to tell, to make more sense to people who might not be familiar with Spawn lore. Spawn is essentially a demon who was originally a human named Simmons. During one of his missions in Botswana as a CIA agent, he was betrayed and killed by his colleague mercenaries. Following this, he was sent to hell for his life of sin as an assassin, and while in hell, he made a deal with the demon Malabolgia to be brought back to life so that he could see his wife, Wanda Blake, again one last time. When he was brought back to life, Simmons, now Spawn, was ashamed of his new disfigured appearance as a hellspawn, and therefore didn't want to let his former wife see him in this state. In addition to this, Wanda had already found a new husband and was living a much happier life than when she was with Spawn. Wanda's new husband was Terry Fitzgerald, who was Spawn's best friend when he was still alive. This caused Spawn to feel betrayed and angry at his closest friend, Terry. But he ultimately allowed Wanda and Terry's relationship to go on, as he didn't want to destroy the happy life that she had built for herself, including a daughter named Cyan and two twins called Jake and Katie. The context of this being that, while Spawn and Wanda were together, they had tried and failed many times to conceive a child. Another smaller but equally important character in the context of the story I am about to tell is Granny, who was Wanda Blake's mother and who throughout the Spawn comics was a mentor to Spawn in his times of need. In the universe of Spawn, the mother of existence is a genderless being that created everything. God and Satan were but two among countless beings, each assigned to a different planet. Their number is so vast that it defies quantification by any human language. In other words, they were nothing special at all. In fact, not only were they not special, we are further told that they were the worst among the entire Mother of Existence's creations. Petty and childish, their rivalry grew over eons. One's creation, the other's destruction, both's obsession. This bickering, mild at first, escalated into a deep-seated hatred, culminating in war. Petty and childish, they fought. Petty and childish, they destroyed. Petty and childish, they remained, despite their immense power. However, within this disappointing turn of events, the Mother of Existence was impressed, for on this planet, there was something special. Among all the things they made, among the beautiful, the ugly, the glorious, and the grotesque, they somehow created something unique: mankind. God envisioned men merely as servants, as lapdogs. In contrast, it was Satan who endowed them with the gift of free will. God and Satan could not see the brilliance of their own creation. They sullied it, tainted it. All humans were to them but pawns, tools, weapons to further their wars, dying only to be reborn, destined to rejoin the eternal armies of heaven or hell. The Mother of Existence thought this a shame, and therefore intervened, removing his children from their kingdoms, leaving hell and heaven to fend for themselves. Transforming into human form, the Mother of Existence descended to earth as Jesus Christ, aiming to teach humanity the path of peace and tolerance. This plan failed, however, owing to the acolytes of God and Satan, who sought to further their war, even with their leaders absent. Realizing then that Armageddon was inevitable, the mother of existence, in a final effort to save humanity and possibly redeem her offspring, restored them, albeit as human children. In hopes that learning to live as mortals would enlighten them, the mother of existence surrounded them with the love of a family. Surely they would change. However, even as children, even with the memories of their past temporarily wiped, their true nature overwhelmed them. Even in their childlike appearance, they killed each other gruesomely, only to rise again. During their playtime, they caused global disasters. God, in Jake's body, poured red paint into a fish pond, causing river waters to turn into blood. Satan, while in Katie's body, painted frogs with additional mouths on their stomachs, causing these malformed abominations to appear and plague the real world. The children's mother, Wanda, was the only one to witness these odd phenomena surrounding her children, causing her and those around her to think she was crazy. Eventually, her children tied her up and threatened to kill her and the rest of her family. At the last possible second, Spawn, the main character in the Spawn comics, shows up and kills the children, but they rise up again as though nothing happened. Terry Fitzgerald, the twins' father, finally sees what his wife had been telling him all along. In all the chaos and confusion, Zera, a seraph angel and God's greatest soldier, bursts into the room and kneels before Jake. Jake at first is confused and asks who she is. "I am your faithful servant," she replies, and all the memories quickly start flooding in. Jake and Katie remember who they are, remember who they really are. God and Satan were united in confusion, dazed by memories, a rare shared moment of vulnerability. The mother of existence intervened and banished her children back to their domains of hell and heaven. Sometime later, the mother of existence conveys to Spawn, in no uncertain terms, that to vanquish God and Satan, he must embrace the daunting, monumental task of becoming a deity himself. To do this, he hurdles through a number of challenges, the most interesting of all being his fight with the 12 disciples. After getting intentionally killed by Judas Iscariot, Spawn is reborn and granted the power of a god by eating a fruit from the tree of life in the Garden of Eden. When God is sent to heaven by the mother of existence, he is annoyed by how much his forces have dwindled and how greatly hell has caught up with heaven in his absence. He therefore decides to call upon all believers on earth. As they float to heaven, they are happy. They all have this idealized version of heaven in their mind. A recurring character in the Spawn series called Granny imagines that once in heaven she will regain her sight and revert back into her youthful body. Ascending to heaven, her heart brimming with anticipation of an eternity in divine chorus, she envisions her celestial destiny unfolding. When, though, she arrived, she was still as blind as an extinguished altar candle. She laments about this to God, and he restores her sight, only for her to open her eyes and have her heart sink into her chest. Dedicated in life to morality and justice, the faithful confront a truth so crushing, so vile, so heartbreaking. Heaven is no better than earth, no better than hell. They arrive to find an army of angels that look nothing like what they imagined back on earth. The faithful are then encased in suits of armor, against their own will, and seemingly turned into mindless soldiers, with nothing but death and destruction on their minds. To match God's newfound army, from the San Andreas Fault, an earthquake erupts, wrought by Satan's hand. This he does, in order to kill millions and recruit them into Hell's army. Los Angeles is stripped from the very earth and transported into the middle of the ocean, where the final battle was to occur. Satan then releases the 4 horsemen upon the world. First came pestilence, cloaked in death's aroma, a scent so lethal, its mere smell would kill people. Wherever his shadow fell, people fell sick. Boils filled with pus, blood spewing out, flesh turning black and falling off. Second March death. Everywhere he went, he belched out swarms of flesh-eating locusts that shredded people to the bone. Hunger followed next. Everywhere he went, people felt a mad hunger. All they could think about was eating. No matter how much they ate, they were still hungry, and would eventually die of starvation, even with full bellies. War, the last, thundered in, who went everywhere emitting a deathly roar that made whoever heard it regress back to primitive creatures, that killed whatever they saw. All this happened in a matter of hours. By the time Spawn, who was now a god, arrived in the city, it was decimated. He quickly followed after them, flying in the air with his newly acquired wings. Down below him, he spotted Zera fighting 4 monsters, each 10 times her size. She defeated them with ease. One thing to know about Zera is that she was not exactly what you would call sane. All the other angels in heaven feared her. So feared, in fact, that God had once locked her up for thousands of years to prevent her from decimating everything around her. But at times like this, her madness was a tool that God could utilize. Spawn flew down to face her. Eager, oh so eager for the fight. Little did she know, he was now a god. During the whole fight, Spawn was basically holding back his punches, pleading with Zera to give up so he could spare her life. She refused. With one punch, one devastating blow, one act of divine might, Spawn ended Zera, God's second in command. After he kills Zera, he sees Granny fighting a demon in the distance. "No!" he screams. He easily kills the demon and turns his attention to Granny, who was dying. In her final breath, she laments that he, Al Simmons, aka Spawn, had always been right. God and heaven were a lie. God restored her vision, all so that she could witness war and destruction. In death, Al became an angel. In this, at least, her belief stood firm amidst the chaos. Before passing away, and even after all she saw, all she experienced, she told Spawn that she still believed there was a real heaven out there somewhere. Spawn, now consumed and overwhelmed with rage, flew determinedly into the heart of the furious and chaotic battleground. In a jaw-dropping display of his newfound powers as a god, he commanded the very earth to open up and swallow all the hellspawn back into the underworld. Satan notices his missing soldiers. A servant demon then conveyed the news of what Spawn had done to Satan's army. In a fit of rage, Satan plucks out the demon's eyes and smashes them in his hands. God looks out into the battlefield and notices Zera missing. Just then, Spawn pops into frame and delivers Zera's severed head. The head apologizes to its master for its failure to kill Spawn. Spawn then offers God and Satan a chance to call off the rest of their armies and to leave Earth forever. Spawn stood aside and let the siblings deliberate on what to do next. For millennia, they had disagreed with each other unceasingly, but for once in their lives, they saw eye to eye. In this rare instance of collaboration between the two, they sent all their remaining soldiers after Spawn. Demons and angels all attacked the lone Spawn. Reluctantly, Spawn drew from all his newfound power as a god, and almost instantaneously, in an atomic-like explosion, killed all life on Earth. When he looked about him and saw what he had done, Spawn wept, for all the world was desolation, and mankind was no more. Soon, Spawn's crying turned into laughter. He stood before them, the architect of their downfall. They planned for thousands of years. They created the human race, bred them to be cannon fodder for their apocalypse, and in an instant, he took it all away. Spawn then asks the Mother of Existence to revert God and Satan back to their original forms, since they look too much like Wanda. She warns Spawn that reverting them to their original form will revert everything else, including their appetite for destruction. God and Satan try to fight Spawn, but at this point, Spawn already considers himself to have won the fight. God warns Spawn not to turn his back on him. Spawn doesn't really care, and taunts God and Satan to do their worst. God and Satan unleash their power at him, and Spawn disintegrates into dust. At the end of it all, the Mother of Existence tells God and Satan that they could have been the greatest of his children. He gave them planet Earth, and he was going to leave them with what they made of it. As the Mother of Existence fades away, God and Satan look at each other, and for the first time in the whole story, they express remorse for their actions. God asks, "Is this what we have come to?" Satan starts talking and says, "Brother, perhaps we should..." But before he could finish his sentence, God says, "This is your fault," and the bickering starts all over again. The camera pans back to reveal Spawn and the Mother of Existence looking down on Earth as God and Satan fight, the only beings left on the entire barren Earth. Spawn asks, "Will they ever stop?" The Mother of Existence explains, "I gave them all the guidance I could, but they were beyond all hope. They were like the Ouroboros, the snake that eats its own tail, trapped in a cycle of endless self-destruction." Afterwards, Spawn, using his godlike powers, creates a whole new Earth, separate from the old Earth where God and Satan were doomed to fight for eternity, and he brings everybody who died back to life. He heals all sicknesses and reverses all disasters. But all those terrible memories of the end days, of the apocalypse, he didn't take those away. He wanted everyone to remember what had happened, to learn from it, and hopefully usher in a new era of peace. Spawn asks, "What next?" The Mother of Existence tells him, "You are now the new god of Earth. You can do whatever you want." Spawn proceeds to close all the portals connecting Earth to heaven and hell. They would have no contact with Earth ever again. What happens next shocks even the Mother of Existence. Spawn asks to be removed from his godly status. The Mother asks, "Won't you change anything else?" But Spawn replies saying, "I won't bring about world peace. I won't cure the common cold. If I start doing that, then where would it end? The more you try to control things, the more chaos you create. It's time for mankind to grow up, to find their own way." All Spawn asks from the Mother of Existence is to be returned back to Earth as the human he once was. He tells the Mother that the only reason he took the deal with the demon Malebolgia to become a hellspawn was so that he could be back on Earth to see the love of his life, Wanda. Reluctantly, the Mother reverts Spawn back into his human form as Al Simmons. Issue 164 of Spawn starts with a rejuvenated Al Simmons walking towards Wanda's house. Like a Spielberg movie, the night unfurls, stars sharp and clear as diamonds, perfect in its unfolding. He says that he felt like a teenager going to pick up his date for prom. Just as he is about to enter the house, the Mother of Existence stops him in his tracks. Al is extremely annoyed. The Mother explains that she wants him to see something first, and allows Al to enter the house as a ghost, invisible to everybody else around him. As a ghost, Al witnesses a fight between Wanda and her new husband Terry. Terry tells Wanda that he knows she still loves Al. Wanda explains that a part of her will always love Al, but that she loves Terry with all her heart. Terry then reveals that he found love letters and photos of Al that she had kept all that time, love letters and photos that she looked at every single day. At the climax of their fight, Wanda asks if Terry was going to hit her. Terry is taken aback by the question, saying that he would never do such a horrible thing. Wanda replies, and everybody in the room, including Al, is shocked. Wanda says, Al would have. At this point in the story, it is revealed that Al was abusive towards Wanda when they were together. Wanda explains how she never thought she would become one of those battered wives who stayed in abusive relationships. She despised them, but she ended up becoming one of them. Al would beat her, then later, he would be back, crying like a baby, and apologize. During their relationship, Al always talked about how he wanted kids, but Wanda knew it was never really going to happen. Al was a soldier, and a damn good one. There was no way he was going to settle for the quiet of a domestic life, the humdrum of an office job. He was never going to be able to settle down and become a father, so Wanda made the decision for him. She went off the pill and became pregnant. She was scared to tell him, but eventually, she did. He wasn't happy. He was obsessed with the idea that people like him, soldiers like him, were the last line of defense against evil. He explains that people like him have to be able to flip a switch in their head and do what needed to be done. He then stared at Wanda straight in the eyes. Wanda explains that she saw in his eyes what his victims likely saw in the seconds before they died. It's not hate, but something beyond love or hate. Wanda explains that with that look, Al wanted her to understand that he was the kind of man mankind needed to save them. Anyone could kill, but people like him could kill the things they loved. What Al did next was, to understate, beyond vile. He punched Wanda right in the stomach, killing his unborn child. Al couldn't believe it. It's a lie. A lie. All lies. How could he have done something so cruel? Why couldn't he remember doing such a heinous thing? Al's scream pierced the night. No! 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 Echoing as his soul was wrenched back into his body. The Mother of Existence then explains to Al that was why he couldn't go back to Wanda. Wanda intended to end her relationship with Al after he came back from his last mission, but he never came back. He died. When Al made a deal with Malebolgia to return back to Earth, he blamed Malebolgia for turning him into a hellspawn. But in reality, Al had suppressed the memories of killing his child and kept it buried within his subconscious. It was him, all along. It was him. He was the one who punished himself for the guilt of killing his own child. When Malebolgia offered to turn him into a hellspawn, he willingly agreed because he wanted to suffer. On his knees and utterly defeated, Al was turned back into spawn and returned by the Mother of Existence back to the dark alleys that he frequented. After saving the world, the alleys were deserted. Even the homeless had better places to be. They didn't need him anymore. He was Al Simmons, the man who could save the world, but who couldn't save himself. In the universe of Spawn, hell transcends the traditional notion of an eternal inferno for the damned. Instead, it manifests itself through diverse entities: Satan, God, Jake, Katie, Granny, Wanda, Terry, Spawn, and Al Simmons. Hell embodies the essence of every soul, every moment of despair, and every decision leading to destruction. Hell exists within us all, reflecting our darkest facets. However, it suggests that the capacity for redemption is equally universal. By introspecting and choosing differently, we possess the power to transform our personal hells into heavens.